Let's see, maybe we have to reopen VSP. Background, image, favorites. There we go. Bam. Just like that. I guess it's glitchy or whatever. So, okay, now, so let's get our fuselage in here, and our wings, and our horizontal tail. So under geometry browser, see up in the top right, we have a whole different kinds of selections we can use to create our geometries. So let's start off with the fuselage. Go ahead and add it. And I like to just rename this thing fuselage. And so when we open this guy, you see we get this kind of this, I guess, GUI, I guess you can call it. So let's go through each of these and I'll explain kind of what's in each. So in general, like you saw, we can change the name. We can also change the color of our mesh. Cool. We can change the material. I don't really do that. And here, this is a really important one. You can change the number of width-wise tessellations. So you can see what this does to the mesh here. It makes it more fine in this direction. And we'll talk about later guidelines for how to make good mesh for FlightStream. But for now, we'll just set it at 50 so we can so we won't get too lost in the mesh. But cool. So now let's move on to X form. And so basically, this here is where your geometry is, X, Y, Z coordinates from its coordinate system. So you see this red line here. I think of that as coordinate system. So you see, if you look at this from the top, we can change the X location. So you see this coordinate system here. X is positive this way, Y is positive this way, Z your standard right hand coordinate system. You can change it this way and this way. But the fuselage, I always do my best to keep it at the nose at 0, 0, 0, just to have a reference for when we're placing the wing and horizontal tail. Cool. Okay, you can also rotate it. So following the right hand rule, positive rotations. You can see if you want to rotate about the z-axis here, 90 degrees. You can see it rotates at about the z-axis there. So it's pretty intuitive there. And you can change origin rotation, so where you're rotating these values here with these angles about this origin location. And so it goes from 0 all the way to 1 because that's the length of your fuselage. So if you want to rotate about 50% of the fuselage, you can do that here and say you want to rotate about the Z, 90 degrees. You can see that rotated about the center point, 50%. Cool. So hopefully that makes sense. But like I said, I usually keep everything at 0 for the fuselage. Alright, awesome. And so here's another important one. So say we wanted to have 2 fuselages for whatever reason. We can activate XZ plane symmetry. So the XZ plane is obviously the plane made with the X and Z axes. So say we wanted to make another fuselage, what we can do is activate XZ plane symmetry. And obviously, because it's right on it's already halfway through the XZ plane, we have to separate it from the plane. So we just increase our distance from the plane. And you see we've created 2. And so, yeah, that's again what symmetry can do for you. Yeah, so axial, I don't really use any of this too much. Scale it, obviously you can scale it all dimensions by a certain value if you wanted to there. And all this down here, don't really ever use it too much. Mass, I don't ever use this. We're only using VSP to create the mesh. Design, this is another important one. So if you want to change the length of your fuselage, you can do that here. Cool. So actually, let's go back here and let's actually start building this fuselage. So let's deactivate XZ symmetry and get this thing back on the XZ plane. Good. And now from the top, let's just line this thing up with the nose. Say it's pretty good there. And all this is just doing your best. And I wonder what the actual length of this fuselage is. So let's look that up. TA42 length. Let's see if this helps us at all. Oh, look, AI is, oh, look, 8.56 meters. Well, that's useful. So now we can come back here and we can make our fuselage length 8.56 meters. Cool. And so you might be wondering about units here. So VSP just uses the same units pretty much everywhere. So, but you just got to be consistent. That's the most important thing. So if you change this length to be 8.56 and you know that the length from here to here is 8.56, just make sure that that length stays the same. So let's go here, and that looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now let's keep going through this. Design, don't really modify that ever. So the nose cap type. So this is just referring to, like, say you had an open cross section up here. You can close that off with either a flat round edge or sharp nose cap. And here's some parameters you can adjust, like the length, offset, strength, and same idea for the tail. And I'll show you what that means right now, actually. So if we looked at the front, the nose rather, and we see right now that it's a point. So we can go through each and single one of these sections with these arrows here. So if I want to be at the nose, I can modify what that looks like. So I just change it from a point to a circle, and see how it's a circle. We can modify the diameter, the area, and whatnot, and you have all these different kinds. So you can change it to an ellipse, where you change those parameters, and you have all these different options. I won't go through all of them, but I'll show you what a nose cap might look like. So we come into here and we change this to flat, and see all that, modify that to be a flat cross section. We can make it round, and we can modify the length of it, offset. You can make it an edge, a sharp edge there. You can make it sharp, whatever. I don't really do any of that, but and you can also do the same thing for the tail. So yeah, same idea. Cool. Engine definition, don't really use any of this. But yeah, so let's keep chugging along here. So that was about like that, and we're actually going to make that back into a point there, because that's what it seems to taper down into. And I noticed that our sides here are just a little bit too, probably half too much large, but we'll get into how to modify that in a second. Say you wanted to add a control surface into a wing, or a horizontal tail, vertical tail, for the purposes of a report or something. You want to lay out and show the control surfaces. You can do that here, and I'll show that on the wing. But we don't really have any sub geometries or surfaces to put on the fuselage. So I'll show this more on the wing. Cool. So you might have already seen me in here a little bit. Uh,